When my feet grow heavy and my eyes go dim, hearing fades to whispers, I know your love can heal all my sin. I thank you that you're with me. Beautiful words I hear within. I know you will restore all things. Your child, you are my King. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ears.
Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our Elohim. Yahuwah is one, and you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and they shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commands hang all the Torah and prophets. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Nazarene channel. All right. So I hope everybody had a fine week. I trust everyone got through all the suffering and the misery and of the holidays, and you came out unscathed. And hopefully your belief survived, and you were steadfast in your belief. And as you walked away with Yahuwah, I know a lot of us had lots and lots to deal with over the past couple weeks, and even still really hasn't ceased yet, has it? But we'll get through it, and that's just something that happens every year. After you've been through it enough, it gets to where it really goes unnoticed. I know, at least for me, it just becomes like a regular day. And I don't really mind spending the day with my family, with Yahuwah, doing what I do most every day. Anyway, so hopefully all of you are at the point where you're getting to where it doesn't really bother you that much anymore, and you've made peace with yourself, you've made peace with your family and your friends over these holidays, and everybody's at peace and on the same page with what you believe and what you want to do. And so we definitely don't want to go back. Too late to go back. We know too much. There's no going back for the Nazarene. So we have to be steadfast and push ahead, ever closer to the return of our Redeemer, to the closer and closer we creep to our redemption. So endurance is extremely important for the Nazarene, since Scripture says those who endure will be delivered. Endurance becomes a salvation issue then, doesn't it? Yes, it does. So tonight's study here is going to be about scriptural prophecy. We're going to talk somewhat about the scriptural prophecy that's in scriptures, and prophecy makes up about 30%, maybe 27%ish, something like that, of prophecy. So quite a bit of prophecy within the scriptures of truth. And so we're going to talk about it. What's in there, what's been fulfilled, what hasn't been fulfilled, where's it at, where's the fulfillments, this kind of thing. And it should prove out to be a great study, and I think we'll all enjoy it and gain knowledge of Yahuwah out of this one. And we'll get started here in just a moment. First, let me go into the chat room and say hello to some people that have joined us early on this Yom Shabbat. So here we go. Sister Sandra Brunston, Shabbat Shalom Shema. Shema in Hebrew is here. Sharon Sharon, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, sister. Raul Koto, Shalom Familia. I have sought you with all my heart. Let me not stray from your commands. Hallelujah. Brother Raul. Welcome, Brother Raul. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Let me see. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to go way out on a limb here and take a wild stab at it and say hello to Sister Yami. Hi, Sister Yami. You're welcome here. Glad you're here. Shabbat Shalom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shabbat. Brother Levi Davis. Shalom. Welcome, brother. Sister Peggy Russell. Shabbat Shalom, family. Welcome, Sister Peggy. Jocelyn Stewart Bagley. Welcome, Sister Jocelyn. Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. Sharon C. Welcome, Sister Sharon C. Shabbat Shalom from Ike and Sharon in Virginia. Jeremiah. Welcome, Brother Jeremiah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Brother Lou White and Sister Phyllis White. Welcome, brother and sister. Shalom, beloved of Yahusha. Brother Phil Dickey, welcome, brother. Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. Rose Wright, welcome, sister. Shabbat Shalom, keepers of the covenant of love. Todah Rabbah Yahuwah for Shabbat. Welcome, Sister Rose. Mr. Three Jobs on the highway with the upright. Welcome, Brother John. Glad you're here. Kate Connell, welcome, Sister Kate. Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaka. Yahudru, Shalom, Mark and everyone. Welcome, Brother Yahudru. All right. Okay, if I missed anyone, apologize. You're welcome here every time, anytime, all the time. And I'm sure we'll have more people trickling in as they're already doing. And hopefully we'll pack the house tonight for Yahusha. Everybody give Yahusha an applause and a hallelujah and a welcome to Yahuwah. And he promises where two or more is gathered together, there he will be also. So, yay, we have Yahusha attending. Welcome, Yahusha. Glad you are here, Master Yahusha. Okay. So here we go then. We all probably have heard that the Christian sect likes to express the idea that the Torah, what they call the Old Testament, the Tanakh, has been abolished and no longer relevant. It was just for the Jews. We don't have to obey the Torah anymore. It's not for us. We're in the age of grace. We just need to stick with the New Testament or Paul's writings in particular, and so forth and so on. So what they fail to realize is that Scripture, as far as the Tanakh, the Torah, the prophets and the writings, was on scrolls and parchments. I think there were some books back in the first century, but mostly scrolls and parchments, and some books, I guess, probably very heavy books, I would imagine. And this is all they had to go from. This is what they read from. This is what they quoted. This is what they studied out of, taught out of. It's all they had. And when they would assemble on Shabbat and would read the scrolls, in particular the Torah or the great scroll of Isaiah, as Yahusha once did, this is all they had. So the New Testament wasn't even compiled yet. There was no such thing as the New Testament, nor were the Nazarene writings compiled and put into a sequence and stuck into a book. It wasn't there. The King James Version did not come along till the 1611 edition that was authorized by King James. And so, believe it or not, the apostles did not have the King James Version to read out of and teach out of. So, within the scriptures of truth, it's estimated that there's probably 2,500 prophecies, approximately 27 to 30% of all of the scriptures is prophecy. And so about 2,500 or thereabouts prophecies in the scriptures. And out of those 2,500, about 2,000 of them have been fulfilled at this point, approximately. Yahusha himself fulfilled over 300 of these prophecies at his first coming. So then there would be approximately somewhere around 500 or so prophecies left to be fulfilled. And guess where all these prophecies are? You guessed it. They're in the Old Testament, that old, crippled up, wrinkled up Old Testament is just limping along with a cane, about ready to go bye-bye because it's old and decrepit. There's still 500 unfulfilled prophecies in those pages. The prophecies that are in the New Testament are quoted. They're either direct quotes or alluded to the prophecies in the Old Testament or the Tanakh. So most of the prophecies in the New Testament or the Nazarene writings are fulfillments. It's prophecy that was fulfilled, and mainly by Yahusha at his first coming. So that means that the 500 prophecies that have not been fulfilled yet, that are still left over, are going to allude to the end time. Okay, so the end times, the second coming of Yahusha, the white throne judgment, the tribulation years, the World War III, Armageddon, the day of Yahuwah, the millennium reign, the reign of Yahuwah, the new earth, the new heaven, the destruction of the old. So these are the prophecies that have not been fulfilled yet, and most of them, the majority of them, are in reference to Yahusha's second coming. Even the 7 appointed times, the 3 fall feasts are also, or the 3 fall appointed times have not been fulfilled yet either. So those are still unfulfilled prophecies or predictions as well. And so if there's 500 waiting in the wings to be fulfilled, then if we would take and throw the Old Testament in the dustbin of iniquity and get rid of it, if they claim that it's worthless, it's irrelevant, it's annulled, it's done away with, then we're throwing all those 500 unfulfilled prophecies away. Huh? Why would you do that? Something like that. So that right there speaks volumes of what is truth and untruth when it comes to the Tanakh, whether or not it's still relevant or not. And I think as most of us who have just at least a little bit of common sense, we can figure out that it's not a good idea to throw 500 unfulfilled prophecies away and act like they don't matter. Does that sound right to you? That's something that we should do? I hope not. Why they teach that, I'm not real sure, but it must have something to do with their replacement theology and their supersessionism ideology. So with the literal hundreds of prophecies still to be fulfilled, we need to hang on to the Tanakh. We don't need to be throwing anything out. So out of all the ones that have been fulfilled so far, every single one of them have come true exactly as prophesied. The first 7 appointed times have come true precisely and exactly as prophesied. And that happened, those were all fulfilled at the first coming of Yahusha. With Yahusha not only fulfilling his first coming, fulfilling the first 4 appointed times, but fulfilling more than over 300 prophecies. And these prophecies were written about him at least 500 years, at least 5 centuries prior to him coming to the earth as our Mashiach. And as I said, there are still many prophecies of the end times, or the last days, if you will, left to be fulfilled by Yahuwah. We're actually living in an exciting time. This present era that we're living in, we are living out scriptural prophecy. Some scriptural prophecy is coming, fulfilling right before our eyes, such as Israel's rebirth in 1948. One of the end time predictions right up close to the tribulation years is the Euphrates River drying up. There's a phenomena going on right now, literally, where the Euphrates River is drying up, and the banks are being exposed more and more. But even more than that, Turkey has erected a dam at the mouth of the Euphrates. The Euphrates is fed from the snow and ice melting from the mountains in Turkey. And put a dam in there and they can push a button and stop the flow of the great river Euphrates at any time they want to now. They already did it, and when they tested the dam after completion of the dam. So this prophecy can be fulfilled now in our time. Scripture also talks about in the end of the days or the last days that life would return to the Dead Sea. And there's a phenomena going on over there right now with the Dead Sea. Maybe some of you have read and heard about it. But the Dead Sea is also drying up and leaving about, at the present moment, 3 to 5 feet of extra shoreline every single year. And these sinkholes are developing around the edges of the Dead Sea. And there's underground streams that are filling these sinkholes with fresh water, and fish and vegetation are popping up and living in and around these sinkholes near the shores of the Dead Sea. Believe it or not, that phenomenon is happening right now in our literal world. Of course, we know there's end time prediction that says that it's going to empty out into the Gulf, and so it will be a live lake, and people are going to fish from the banks of it. So it's just starting to happen now in the literal, but at the end it's going to be even more so. But believe it or not, man, that's never happened before. There's never been any life at all in the Dead Sea because there's no outlet. And so it's stagnant, and it's stagnant, and it's just full of minerals, and there's no outlet, so it can't flush. So it just backs up and becomes stagnant, and nothing can live there. So it's kind of an amazing thing going on over there right now. Another amazing thing that's transpiring right here in front of our very eyeballs is the temple, this institution over there called the Temple Institution, has rebuilt all of the temple furniture to be placed in what they call the new temple in Jerusalem. And they have everything they need to erect that temple and supply it with the furniture and utilities. They even have done DNA testing and found ancestors to the Levites and to Aaron and everything else, so they can start picking up where they left off with the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So all they're waiting for at this moment that we're talking, why we're speaking right now, is for permission from their government to start building this new temple. And amazingly, perhaps thousands of years, after hundreds of years, or perhaps even thousands of years, they have found solid red heifers. And they came from right here in Texas and were shipped over to Israel. And they've been taken over to Jerusalem to be checked out and to make sure that every hair, without exception, is red. There can't be a black hair, a white hair, nothing. It has to be solid red. And so this would be an incredible find, since they're claiming they have 3 or 4 of them. We could go on and on and on about fulfilled prophecies that are happening right here in front of our eyeballs, such as the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. But what's amazing is, as we comb through scriptures and the prophecies given to us, all these hundreds and hundreds of prophecies, there's never been even one that has been a false prophecy. They've all been filled, and they've all come true so far. All right. Let's take a look here. It's something amazing. It's in Matthew. So we'd be in Matthew 5, verse 17 through 20. 17 through 20. Matthew 5. Before we do that, let me share some stuff. I'm gonna do a share screen here. I want y'all to see some. We have some phenomenal things going on, folks, right here in our lifetime. And let me see if I can show you a few things here. There's mind-blowing stuff. Yeah. So here we go. So I'm going to share screen this. Show you some of the things they've made over here for the temple, that they're just waiting for permission. Matter of fact, they have the cornerstones for the temple, and they're hidden on a ranch over there in Israel. And I happen to know a man that knows the owner of the ranch where these stones are being held. And he has went there and visited, and he has seen the cornerstones with his own eyes. There's also rumors that they have the entire temple prefab, setting off location. And with the construction of all these vessels and furnitures and the assembling of the Levites and Aaron's seed and all this that they've already done, they claim that they can put that temple up and begin operations in it, according to Torah, in less than 1 year's time. Less than 1 year. They're ready. So these are copper vessels that they've made. Let me see if I can. Oh, nope, it's not going to let me do it. Nope, I'm going to have to go out, come back in with this. And unfortunately, but it's worth it. Just to see this stuff is mind-blowing, really. So, this is the incense chalice, and this is the coal shovel to remove the ashes. Here. They have this ready to go. This is all done precisely according to the instructions in the Torah. Well, I'm not going to be able to keep going. I don't know why it jumps like that. But yeah, I'll do what I got to do here. So this next one is the showbread table. Here's the showbread table. Right there. Ready to use, ready to roll. I was able to do that one. Here's a picture. Copper vessel. Oh, that's in the Vatican. That's Vatican Hall. The throne of Satan right between the fangs of the snake. This is the auditorium in the Vatican. That's not what I was wanting to show you. So the showbread table there. Here's the jugs for the menorah oil, and along with cleansing tools for the menorah. I'll show it to you. There it is. There's the big vessel. There's the little one. Here's a brush. It's a brush and a cleaning instrument for the menorah. Or whatever they do. I don't know exactly what they do with this stuff, but oh, there's that purple and red beast. So here's the menorah itself. They even have the menorah ready to roll. Here's the golden menorah. Got it on display behind bulletproof glass. They have everything. They're done. They just all they want to do is permission to start erecting it, man. It's all they're waiting on. A beautiful menorah. Let's see what else I got here. They have the priestly garments ready to roll and the incense altar ready to roll. Let me show it to you. There you go. This is all on display. Anybody can go there and see it. So here's the high priest uniform with his turban. I don't know if it says Yahuwah on there or not. You can't see it that clear, but it probably does because it's in scripture. And here's a Levite outfit for the Levites and clean the temple. And this is the high priest outfit. And this little golden box here is the incense altar of incense. Like I said, they have all this ready to roll. This isn't something that they're just displaying for a museum. You know, this stuff is real. It's built exactly according to the instructions in the Torah, and it's ready to use. As soon as they can get that temple erected, they're going to be using this stuff. This isn't just something they're just showing you here. Yeah, they're ready to roll. Let's see. Well, Here's water and wine vessel. I don't think that's about all I got to show you as far as that goes. Yeah, I don't see anything else here, so. So anyway, you get the idea. They've got all this stuff ready to roll. Here's something that's kind of cool. Let me show you this real quick. Here's the Dead Sea Scrolls. Benjamin here showing Obama the true name written on the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look at Obama's face. He's tripping out. Netanyahu showing Obama the true name. Look at the expression on Obama's face. That's the Dead Sea Scroll. It's like a big giant scroll there. They got that in. But it's in a place they call the Shrine of the Book. That's what they call it. It's like a museum. I'll show it to you. This is over there in Israel. That's what it looks like from the outside. All righty. Okay. All right, let's get back to the scriptures. Matthew 5:17-20 says, do you think, this is Yahusha talking now, do you think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets? I did not come to destroy, but to complete, which means to fulfill. He filled over 300 prophecies about himself when he came. There's more to be fulfilled, which he will fulfill at his second coming. But that statement alone, I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill or complete, is extremely powerful statement. For truly I say to you, till the heaven and the earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. What's that mean? Till all be done. That means until all the prophecies are fulfilled. They all must be fulfilled. So that means that the Torah, the prophets, the Tanakh is alive and well until every single prophecy is fulfilled. That's a pretty powerful statement from Yahusha right there. And so why people teach that the Old Testament, what they call the Old Testament, is irrelevant or annulled, is amazing to me. Why they would dare say that after Yahusha said that it's by no means passed from the Torah till all be done. Till all be done. That means all live prophecy must be fulfilled. So that's an extremely amazing statement from Yahushua. And if we look at Acts, we're going to look at some of this prophecy and its fulfillments too here in a minute, but let's look at Acts real quick. So Acts, Acts 28, 22 and 23. Acts 28, 22 and 23 says, and we think it right to hear from you what you think. For indeed, concerning this sect, speaking of the way, we know that it is spoken against everywhere. And having appointed him a day, many came to him where he was staying. This is talking about Paul, to whom he was explaining, earnestly witnessing about the reign of Yahuwah, and persuading them concerning Yahusha from both the Torah of Moses and the prophets, from morning until evening. From morning until evening. So, this is proof that Paul was teaching these people about Yahusha out of the Tanakh, out of the Torah of Moshe, that's the Torah, and the first 5 books, and the prophets. Isaiah probably has the most prophecies of any other book, definitely of any other prophet, about the Messiah, about Yahusha, found in Isaiah. Matter of fact, if you look right down the page there, after we see the evidence of Paul teaching about Yahusha from the Torah and the prophets, or the Old Testament, we'll look right down there at the verse 25. It talks about quotes out of Yeshayahu or Isaiah, right there. So Isaiah is the most has the most prophecies, quotes or alluding to the Messiah than any other book. Some say Psalms does, and some has Isaiah. It's the number one. So I guess it's whatever side of the fence you want to put yourself, but I'll tell you what, there's a tremendous amount of quotes out of Isaiah in the Nazarene writings, for sure. So look at that one in 25. And disagreeing with one another, they began to leave. After Paul had spoken one word, the Ruach HaKodesh rightly spoke through Yeshayahu the prophet to our fathers, saying, go to this people and say, hearing you shall hear, but by no means understand, and seeing you shall see, but by no means perceive. For the heart of this people has become thickened, and with their ears they heard heavily, and they have closed their eyes, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and turn back, which is repent. And I should heal them. That means deliver them. Therefore, let it be known to you that the deliverance of Elohim has been sent to the nations, and they shall hear. And those people took off like jackrabbits when he quoted Isaiah. I didn't want to hear that, did they? So where is that in this Yashayahu the prophet? Well, it's in Isaiah 6. Well, let's look at it. Isaiah 6. So when Paul says the Ruach HaKodesh rightly spoke through Yashayahu the prophet to our fathers, saying, he's saying that this has been fulfilled, is what he's saying. So this prophecy is in Isaiah 6, 9 and 10. It says, and he said, go and you shall say to this people, hearing you hear, but do not understand, and seeing you see, but do not know. Make the heart of this people fat, and their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and shall turn and be healed. See that? So there it is. So that's what Paul is alluding to. Actually, it's a pretty direct quote. It's not exact. You could say it's alluding to, but you can't deny it. So there's the prophecy. There's the fulfillment right there. And we just started. So there you go. There's proof of the two big guys, Yahusha, saying that the Torah and the prophets are still alive and well, and there's still prophecy to be fulfilled. And there's Paul, evidence of Paul teaching out of the Torah and the prophets, and actually quoting Isaiah, just a couple verses down, and using that as a teaching tool, which when they heard him, they took off and left, got mad and left. I guess they didn't like being confronted with the truth, and they ran out of there. They left. So there's no doubt Paul was teaching them about Yahushua from the Tanakh. Look at, while we're in Acts, look at Acts 24:5. A lot of people don't know there's a lot of fulfilled prophecy in Acts. Acts 24:5 says, for having found this man a plague, who stirs up dissension among all the Yehudim throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarene. So there you go. So the sect or the way of the Nazarene. So Paul was accused of being a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarene, which means he was what? He was a Nazarene. That's what that means. Was he the ringleader? Not really. But he was accused of it. Look at Acts 25:7 and 8. And when he had come, the Yehudim who had come down from Jerusalem stood about, bringing many and heavy charges against Paul, which they were unable to prove, while Paul said in his own defense. So this is Paul giving a confession in his own defense in a court hearing. Neither against the Torah of the Yehudim, nor against the set apart place, nor against Caesar did I commit any sin. So here's Paul saying that he never committed any sin against the Torah or the temple or even against Caesar. So pretty amazing. Hardcore evidence that Paul taught out of the Torah and the prophets. It's all he had. All right, so there's actually in Acts alone, there's 57 quotes, just in Acts, from quotes from the Old Testament or the Tanakh. In Acts, there's 57. Mark has 34. John has 40. Luke has 58. Matthew has 96. Matthew quotes the Tanakh 96 times. Romans 74. 1 Corinthians 41 quotes. 2 Corinthians 13 quotes. Galatians 16 quotes. Ephesians 11 quotes. Philippians 3 quotes. Colossians 3 quotes. 1 Thessalonians 2 quotes. 2 Thessalonians 2 quotes. 1 Timothy has 6 quotes. 2 Timothy has 2 quotes. Hebrews has 86 quotes. James has 16 quotes. 1 Peter has 20 quotes. 2 Peter has 10 quotes. 1 John has 6 quotes. Revelations has 249 quotes, for a total of 855 quotes, either direct or alluded to from the Tanakh or the Old Testament. So how in the world can it be annulled? It's obvious. Yahusha said that it was still alive. The Tanakh, Torah, and prophets are still alive, and there's unfulfilled prophecy in it. Paul was admitted that he didn't sin against the Torah. It also states that Paul was teaching out of the Torah and the prophets. And then there's 855 quotes or alluded to quotes in the Nazarene writings. So this now has become overwhelming proof, or overwhelming evidence that the writers of what they're called the New Testament, the Nazarene writings, was using the Tanakh to teach from, to read from, to quote from, to allude to, period. And therefore, if they were teaching out of it, then when you read the New Testament, what are you doing? You're studying the Tanakh, the Old Testament, because they're teaching you from it. So that means you're learning from it. And you can go from the quotes or the alluded to quotes in the New Testament right over to the Old Testament and find them and read it in context and learn about Yahuwah. It becomes clear to me that the Tanakh is not abolished. Silly get men teaching that to others. And what's even more silliness or folly is that these people believe them. They believe them. So it gets me scratching my head and wondering why, how, when, how could this be? And the only answer that comes to mind is, well, they must not be reading scriptures on their own. They must not be reading it. Either that or they're reading it in their eyes, even though they have eyes, they're blind. They have ears to hear, they don't hear. Just like Isaiah prophesied and Paul quoted back there in Acts 28 that we just read about. So that would allude to them, wouldn't it? Isaiah, the prophet, to our father saying, go to this people and say, hearing you shall hear, but by no means understand, and see, and you shall see, but by no means perceive. Must be it. They must be reading it and just not getting it. Why? Because they're not concentrating on Yahuwah, man. They got other things on their mind, occupying their thoughts. I don't know. But it just comes strange to me that they believe these false teachers that tell them that the Old Testament's not for them. Strange. Do you not realize that you're reading 855 quotes or alluded to quotes out of the Tanakh, out of the Netzarim writings, the New Testament, which leads you to the Old Testament? I mean, you're studying out of it. They're teaching you out of it. They're quoting you out of it. They're reading from out of it in order to teach you. So how can it be annulled? Makes no sense. I hope y'all are picking up what I'm laying down, because I mean, to me, this is folly. I mean, it blows my mind. I don't get it. But anyway, let's just look at a few prophecies that were fulfilled at his first coming. There's a ton of. I just want to look at a few. Okay, and so let's go to the Tanakh. We'll say, let's go to Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19, we'll just say. Yahuwah your Elohim shall raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brothers. Listen to me. According to all you asked of Yahuwah your Elohim in Koreb, that's Sinai, in the Yom of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, nor let me see this great fire anymore, lest I die. And Yahuwah said to me, what they have spoken is good. I shall raise up for them a prophet like you out of the midst of their brothers. And I shall put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it shall be, the man who does not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I require it of him. So here you go. This is prophesying Yahusha, right? Yeah, he's being prophesied right here. As a matter of fact, in 15 here, Stephen quotes this passage in Acts 7. Yahuwah your Elohim shall raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brothers. Okay, so was that fulfilled? Yeah, absolutely was. Absolutely was. Okay, so let's go to look now at, let's say, Numbers. Let's look at Numbers. So it'll be Numbers 24. Numbers 24, 17. It says, I see him, but not now. I observe him, but not near. A star shall come out of Yaakov, and a scepter shall rise out of Yisrael, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and shall destroy all the sons of Sheth. and Edom shall be a possession, and Seir shall be a possession, enemies, and Yezreel is doing mighty. And out of Jacob one shall rule and destroy the remnant from Ar. So here we go. Who it's this talking about? Yahusha. So was this fulfilled? Yes. At his first coming, it was fulfilled. So Genesis 3:15. Most of us are familiar with Genesis 3:15, and I put enmity between you and the Asha, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. So did this happen? Yes, it did. The woman's seed came. It was Yahusha. And he crushed the head of Satan when he was resurrected. Okay. So the devil, the dragon, crushed his heel when he died. But when he resurrected, he crushed the head of the dragon. So this was fulfilled prophecy. So now look at Isaiah 53, and this is huge. This may be the most profound chapter in all of the Tanakh relating to the Messiah. Look at 4 and 5. 53, 4 and 5. Truly, he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains, yet we reckoned him stricken, smitten by Elohim, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our crookednesses. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. By his stripes we are healed. Did this happen? You better believe it. You better believe it. He became the Lamb of Yahuwah. He died for our sins. This was fulfilled. This entire chapter was fulfilled. Look at this same chapter, 12, verse 12. Therefore, I give him a portion among the great, and he devised a spoil with the strong, because he poured out his being to death, and he was counted with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. Did that happen? Yep, better believe it. All right, so these are fulfilled prophecies. We can look at one more if you want to. Actually, look at a couple more. Look at Michal 5:2. It's on page 617 in my BYNB. It says, but you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, you who are little among the clans of Yehudah, out of you shall come forth to me the one to become ruler in Yisrael. And his comings forth are of old, from everlasting. Was this fulfilled? Yes, it was. This is when Yahusha was born in Bethlehem, Ephrathah, in Yehudah. So this was fulfilled, this prophecy, and then Dan. Go to Daniel. So Daniel 9, 25 and 26. Know then and understand, from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until the Mashiach, the Prince, is 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It shall be built again with streets and a trench, but in times of affliction. And after the 62 weeks, Mashiach shall be cut off and have nothing. And the people of a coming prince shall destroy the city and the set apart place. And the end of it is with a flood, and waters are decreed, and fighting until the end. Was this fulfilled? Yeah. Mashiach came, he was cut off, he was executed. Okay, that's what cut off means. Executed, and have nothing, and people of a coming prince shall destroy the city and the set apart place. This is the destruction of the second temple by Titus in 70 AD. And this prophecy has been fulfilled. So this is just an example of some fulfilled prophecy about Mashiach. Now let's look at some unfulfilled prophecy, or prophecy yet to be fulfilled. And let's take a look at Daniel 12, since we're in Daniel. Daniel 12, 1 through 3. Now at that time, Michael shall stand up, the great head. That's the archangel Michael, the great head who is standing over the sons of your people. And there shall be a time of distress, such as never was since there was a nation until that time. And at that time, your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth wake up, some to everlasting life, and some to reproaches, everlasting abhorrence. And those who have insight shall shine like the brightness of space, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Okay, so has this happened yet? No. This is unfulfilled prophecy, which means the Tanakh is alive and well, just because of this one. Just if one prophecy in here has not been fulfilled, then the Tanakh is relevant, extremely relevant and important and alive. But there's a whole lot more than just one unfulfilled prophecy. While we're in Dan, look over at Dan 9:27, where we were just reading that. Go to that very next verse, 27. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, that's 7 years. And in the middle of the week, that's 3.5 years, he shall put an end to the slaughtering and meal offering. There has to be an altar, folks, for there to put an end to the slaughter and the meal offering that's going on. There must be an altar. There has to be. And on the wing of abomination he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, and that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste. Has this happened yet? No. This is unfulfilled prophecy. This is speaking of the final 3.5 years of the tribulation years and the 3.5 years prior to that, which is the birth pains. And so this is a confirmation of the covenant. We don't know if that's happened or not. It may have and may not have had happen, but we know that there's no altar up on the Temple Mount, and they haven't started animal slaughterings and meal offerings on an altar yet. There's no temple up there either. So this hasn't happened yet. More than likely, there hasn't been a confirmation of the covenant, because what that is, that would be a peace treaty between the anti-Messiah and Israel. And what's going on over there now is very unlikely that there's been a peace treaty made. So the confirmation of the covenant would be that the anti-Messiah signs a treaty that says that Israel has the right to exist, that they have the right to Israel to be there. It's their land. And so the peace treaty. But he will violate it. He'll make the treaty, but then he's going to violate it. Okay, that hasn't happened yet, so that's unfulfilled prophecy. Let's look at, let's see, how about we go to Isaiah? Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 65. So Isaiah 65:17 says, "For look, I am creating a new Shemayim and a new earth. And the former shall not be remembered, nor come to heart." Huh? Has that happened yet? No. No. There's not a new heaven and a new earth yet. And the former, which is amazing, will not be remembered, no come to heart. So we're not even going to remember this carbon copied world in the eternal reign, folks. It's not going to be even a vague memory of it. We're not going to remember it at all. We can do confirmation on that by going to Revelations 21:5. Go to Revelations 21:5. Revelations 21:5 says, "And he who is sitting on the throne said, 'See, I make all things new.' And he said to me, 'Write, for these words are true and trustworthy.'" All right, so there's unfulfilled prophecy. That hasn't happened yet. We can go to Jeremiah 31. Look at all this unfulfilled prophecy, and this is just a little bit. This is just a taste. Jeremiah 31:31 says, "See, the days are coming, says Yahuwah, when I shall make a renewed covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the Yam when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Yahuwah. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those Yamim, declares Yahuwah. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts and write it on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people." Put my Torah in their inward parts? Wow. Must not be irrelevant. "And no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor, and each one his brother, saying, 'Know Yahuwah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them,' declares Yahuwah." Has that happened yet? No. "For I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. Thus said Yahuwah, who gives the sun for a light by Yam, and the laws of the moon, and the stars for a light by Leah, who stirs up the sea, and its waves roar. Yahuwah Zaboeth is his name. If these laws vanish from before me, declares Yahuwah, then the seed of Yisrael shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus said Yahuwah, if the Shemayim above could be measured, and the foundations of the Eret searched out beneath, I would also cast off all the seed of Yisrael for all that they have done, declares Yahuwah. So any of that happen? Nope. No, this unfulfilled prophecy. It's some of that is being fulfilled in front of our eyes as we speak, and some of it has not been fulfilled yet. Look at Zechariah. Zechariah 14:3. And Yahuwah shall go forth, and he shall fight against those nations, as he fights in the yom of battle. And in that yom his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two, from east to west, a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. Has that happened yet? No. And you shall flee to the valley of my mountain, for the valley of the mountains reach to Atzal. And you shall flee as you fled from the earthquake in the Yamam of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehuda. And Yahuwah Malahim shall come, all the set apart ones with you. And in that Yom it shall be, there is no light, it is dark. Light's out. Has that happened yet? No. And it shall be one Yom which is known to Yahuwah, neither Yom nor Leah, but at evening time there shall be light. And in that Yom it shall be that living mayim flow from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and half of them toward the western sea in summer as well as in winter. And Yahuwah shall be sovereign over all the Eretz. In that Yom there shall be one Yahuwah, and his name one. Has that all happened yet? No, that's unfulfilled prophecy. Let's look at Zechariah 2. Zechariah 2. 10 and 11. It says, Zechariah 2, 10 through 11. Sing and rejoice, daughter of Zion, for look, I am coming, and shall dwell in your midst, declares Yahuwah. And many nations shall be joined to Yahuwah in that Yom, and they shall become my people. And I shall dwell in your midst, and you shall know that Yahuwah Sabaoth has sent me to you. Has that happened yet? No. And Yahuwah shall inherit Yehuda, his portion in the set apart land. And he shall again choose Jerusalem. Hush, all flesh, before Yahuwah, for he has roused himself out of his set apart dwelling. Has that happened yet? Nope. This is unfulfilled prophecy. Look at Psalms. Look at a few more unfulfilled prophecies here. Psalm 72, 7. Let the righteous flourish in his Yamam with plenty of peace, till the moon is no more. And let him rule from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the Eretz. Let those dwelling in the desert bow before him, and his enemies lick the dust. Let the sovereigns of Tarshish and of the isles bring presents. The sovereigns of Sheba and Seba offer gifts. And let all sovereigns bow down before him, and all nations serve him. Has that happened yet? Nope. Not yet, but it's going to. So on more unfulfilled prophecy. Okay, so think we'll stop there. That's enough unfulfilled prophecy, but there's tons of it in here. Close to 500, really. Somewhere around 500. But I think that's enough for you to get the idea that it doesn't matter if there's one or if there's 500 unfulfilled prophecies. Just one means the Tanakh is alive and well. So I think you get the idea there, right? All right, so let's do some comparison now. Yeah, whew. Let's do some comparison real quick. Let's go to Genesis 14:18. So 14:18 says, and Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem or Salem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High All. See that? Now look at Matthew 26:26. So there's the prophecy. So we go to Matthew 26:26. This ain't the only place. It's in other books too. But let's just look at Matthew 26:26. It says, and as they were eating, Yahusha took bread and having blessed, broke and gave it to the Talmudim and said, take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. So here we see him bringing out the bread and the wine in Genesis 14, 18, and then also him doing the same thing in Matthew 26:26. You see that? So that's also would be in John 6. If you want to see that one, it's spoken about in Mark as well. John 6. John 6:53. Yahusha therefore said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Adam and drink his blood, you possess no life in yourself. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood possesses everlasting life, and I shall raise him in the last Yamam. For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood stays in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so he who feeds on me shall live because of me. This is the bread which came down out of the heaven, not as your fathers ate the manna and died. He who eats this bread shall live forever. He said this in the congregation, teaching in Kafar Nakum. These people that heard this word fled as well. That's in Luke. It's in Luke as well. So let's look at that one more time. Luke 22. Luke 22:19. And taking bread and giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Likewise, the cup also. The cup had wine in it. After supper, saying, this cup is the renewed covenant in my blood, which is shed for you. So see, here he brings out the bread and the wine. So last but not least, Mark 14. So Mark 14:22 says, and as they were eating, Yahusha took bread, having blessed, broke it, and gave it to them, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And having taken the cup, given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. Truly I say to you, I shall certainly no more drink of the fruit of the vine till that yom when I drink it anew in the reign of Yahuwah. Okay, so they're showing you that that cup had wine in it. So there it is, showing you that Melchizedek, the sovereign of Salem, the prince of Salem, Salem was an old city before Jerusalem. It was called Salem before it was called Jerusalem. Okay, and so Yahusha is Melchizedek, and he brought out the bread and the wine, same as Yahusha did. So you see the correlation there, the comparison. Look at Exodus 12. So we could say that that's prediction and a fulfillment. Look at Exodus 12:46. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. Okay, see that? You're not to break any bone of it. This is speaking about this is the law of the Passover lamb. Let me back it up to 43 so you get the gist of it. And Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron, this is the law of the Passover. No son of a stranger is to eat of it, but any servant a man has bought for silver, when you have circumcised him, then let him eat of it. A sojourner and a hired servant does not eat of it. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. Okay, so that's the law of the Passover. This is a type or shadow of Yahusha being the Passover lamb. Okay, so look at Yehukanan or John 19 now. So John 19:31 says, therefore, since it was the preparation yom, that the body should not remain on the stake on the Shabbat, for that Shabbat was a high one, the Yehudim asked Pilate to have their legs broken and that they be taken away. Therefore, the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who was staked with him. But when they came to Yahusha and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Seeing that? But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. And he who has seen has witnessed, and his witness is true. And he knows that he is speaking the truth in order that you might believe. For this took place in order for the Sefer to be concluded. Not one of his bones shall be broken, which we just read in Exodus 12:46. So here is prophecy and fulfillment, if you will. Or we could look at it as a comparison, but really it's prophecy and fulfillment. because this is Exodus 12:46, the law of the Passover is a prophecy about what's going to happen to Yahusha, the Lamb of Yahuwah, that one of his bones will be broken. Amazingly, the Yehudim wanted all their bones broke, and they broke the first two guys' bones, but when they came to Yahusha, they didn't break his bone. They stabbed him in the side, and water and blood come out, fulfill another prophecy. Look at Leviticus 4:12. Leviticus 4:12. Okay, so that says, all of the bull he shall bring outside the camp to a clean place, where the ashes are poured out and burnt, and burn it on the wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out, it is burned. Look at Matthew 27. Some of these I might have messed up. I don't know. If so, we'll just move on. 27:33 says, and when they came to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him wine mixed with bile to drink, and after tasting he would not drink. So here you see that it was led out. He shall bring outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are poured out. So outside the camp, and then Yahusha was escorted outside of the camp, out of the walls of Jerusalem, to Golgotha, place of the skulls. All right, now look at Psalm 78. So see, these types are foreshadows, types, or predictions, prophecies relate. They're comparable to each other in a way that they fulfill that type that's in the Tanakh. There's like over 350 of these. And we're not going to go over 350. I'm going to go over a few of them, though, because I think this is probably important to see this. So go to Psalm 78. If you notice the pattern that these are all about Mashiach. Psalm 78, 2-4 says, I open my mouth in a parable. I utter riddles of old, which we have heard and known, for our fathers have related them to us. We do not hide them from their children, relating to the generation to come the praises of Yahuwah and his strength and his wonders which he has done. I open my mouth in parables. See that? All right, so go to Matthew 13. Matthew 13:10. And the Talmudim came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parables? And he answering said to them, because it has been given to you to know the secrets of the reign of the Shemaim, but to them it has not been given. For whoever possesses, to him more shall be given, and he shall have overflowing. But whoever does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away from him. Because of this I speak to them in parables. Because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. Here he is quoting from Isaiah again, or at least alluding to Isaiah. And in them, the prophecy of Yeshayahu, or Isaiah, is completely concluded. And it's totally fulfilled, which says, hearing you shall hear, and by no means understand. And seeing you shall see, and by no means perceive. For the heart of this people has become thickened, and their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their heart, and turn back, and I heal them. Wow. So I opened my mouth in a parable. And so here we see the fulfillment of him speaking in parables, and why he speaks in parables. He spoke in parables. All right. Extremely interesting stuff here, man. So go to 2 Samuel 7. So it was prophesied that he would, when he came, he would speak in parables, and he did. So 2 Samuel 7:12 says, when your Yamim are filled and you rest with your fathers, I shall raise up your seed after you, who comes from your inward parts, and shall establish his reign. Okay. So now look at Matthew 1:1. Matthew 1:1. The book of the genealogy of Yahusha Mashiach, the son of Daud, son of Abraham. Yeah. So here in 2 Samuel 7:12, he's telling Daud, when your days are filled and you rest with your fathers, I shall raise up your seed, who comes from your inward parts, and shall establish his reign. He does go to house for my name, and I shall establish the throne of his reign. And this is telling David that the Mashiach is going to come from him. And when we look at Matthew 1:1, it says the book of the genealogy of Yahushua Mashiach, son of Daud, son of Abraham. See that? So he came from Daud, which was prophesied and promised in 2 Samuel 7:12. So this is fulfillment. Job. Job 19. So Job 19:23. Oh, that my words were written down. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book, engraved on a rock with an iron pen and lead forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and as the last shall rise over the dust, And after my skin has been struck off, then in my flesh I shall see Alua, whom I myself shall see on my side, and not a stranger. My courage has failed within me. And look at Luke 24. Luke 24, 6 and 7. He is not here, but he is raised. Remember how he spoke to you when he was still in Galilee, saying, the son of Adam has to be delivered into the hands of sinners and be staked, and on the third yom rise again. There you go. So Job 19, 23 through 27, prophesying about the resurrection of Yahusha, or Psalm 16. Psalm 16:4 says, the sorrows of those who run after another one are increased. I would not pour out their drink offerings of blood, nor take up their names on my lips. John 19. $34. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. The sorrows of those who run after another one are increased. I would not pour out their drink offerings of blood, nor take up their names on my lips. Psalms 22:15. Psalms 22:15, 16, 17, and 18. My strength is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue is cleaving to my jaws. And the dust of death you are appointing me. For dogs have surrounded me, a throng of evil ones have encircled me, piercing my hands and my feet. I count all my bones. They stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my raiment they cast lots. So now look at John 19. 28. After this, Yahusha, knowing that all had been accomplished in order that the scripture might be accomplished, said, I thirst. In John 34, 1934. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. And John 23 and 24 says, then the soldiers, when they had staked Yahusha, took his outer garment and made 4 parts, to each soldier a part in the inner garment, but the inner garment was without seam, moving from the top in one place. So they said to each other, let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, in order that the scripture might be concluded, which says, they divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. The soldiers therefore indeed did this. That's big time fulfillment, right? Psalms 22:18. Look at 37. And again, another scripture says, they shall look on him who they pierced. Wow. So where would that be? Zechariah. So that would be found in Zechariah, right? Okay, so Psalms 38. Psalms 38:11 says, my loved ones and my friends stand back from my plague, and my neighbors stand far away. My loved ones and my friends stand back from my plague, and my neighbors stand far away. Look at Luke 23:49. Luke 23:49 says, and all those who knew him and the women who followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching this. So there you go. My neighbors stand far away. They stood at a distance. So there's the fulfillment. Prediction and fulfillment. Psalms 55. Psalms 55:12. And it is not an enemy who reproaches me that I could bear, nor one who hates me, who is making himself great against me. Then I could hide from him. But it was you, a man, my equal, my companion, and my friend. Whoa, this is talking about betrayal of a friend. We took sweet counsel together. We walked to the house of Elohim in the throng. Wow. So here's a prediction that Yahushua would be betrayed by a companion, by a friend. They took sweet counsel together. We walked to the house of Elohim together. Wow. All right, so John 13:8. John 13:8 says, Peter said to him, by no means shall you wash my feet ever. Wait a minute. I got that one wrong. Anyways, that's talking about Judas. I don't know how I got mixed that one up. Okay, so that would be Matthew 26. Matthew 26 might be better suited here. 48, 26, 48. And he who was betraying him gave them a sign, saying, whomever I kiss, it is he, seize him. And going straight up to Yahusha, he said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. And Yahusha said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" Then they came and laid hands on Yahusha and seized him. And look, one of those with Yahusha put out his hand and drew his sword, and striking the servant of the high priest, he cut off his ear. Then Yahusha said to him, "Return your sword to its place, for all who take the sword shall die by the sword. Or do you think that I am not able to pray to my Father now, and he shall provide me with more than 12 legions of messengers? How then would the scripture be concluded that it has to be this way?" See, so Yahusha knew he was filling or concluding prophecy by being betrayed by a friend. See that? And so that would be Psalms 55, 12 through 14. My companion and my friend. See that? So then over here he calls him friend. And Yahusha said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" So he betrayed him with a kiss of a friend's kiss. Nasty, man. Woo! That's something else, ain't it? I don't know how I got that reference wrong there. I'm going to change that here. Amen. Okay. So he even said, Yahusha even said that the prophecy had to be concluded, fulfilled, that he would be betrayed by a friend. And that found in Psalms 55, 12 through 14. And it was fulfilled. Wow, man. Psalm 69, y'all. Let's do a few more. These are kind of fun, don't you think? Psalm 69, 21 says, "And they gave me gall for my food, and for my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink." So Matthew 27. 34. "And they gave him wine mixed with bile to drink, and after tasting, he would not drink it." So that's the same thing. That's gall and vinegar, basically the same thing. So there's fulfillment of the prophecy found in Psalm 69, 21. The fulfillment is Matthew 27, 34. We'll do a few more. I kind of like doing this. It's kind of fun. Let's go back to Isaiah. Isaiah probably has the most prophecies or predictions or types or shadows of your Messiah, Yahusha, in any other book. Let's go to Isaiah 53. Oh, man. Isaiah 53, 5 says, "But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our crookedness. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed." All right. 2 Corinthians 5. Go to 2 Corinthians 5, 21. "For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of Yahuwah." Look at Isaiah 53, 9. "And he was appointed a grave with the wrong, and with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was deceit in his mouth." Matthew 27, 57. Look at all the quotes and fulfillments from the Tanakh found in Matthew. Yeah, Matthew's packed, huh? Matthew has 96 quotes or prophecy fulfillments or quotes or alluding to the quotes or prophecies in it. 96. That's a lot. That's the most, really, other than Revelations. So Matthew 27, 57. And when evening came, there came to be a rich man from Ramathaim, named Joseph, who himself had also become a Talmud of Yahuwah. And he went into Pilate and asked for the body of Yahusha. Then Pilate ordered the body to be granted, and having taken the body, Joseph wrapped it in clean linen and laid it in his new tomb, which he had sewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and went away. So there you go. And when evening came, there came a rich man. Okay, so there's the fulfillment of Isaiah 53:9. And he was appointed a grave with the wrong and with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor deceit was found in his mouth. All right, so there's the fulfillment, man. Matthew 27:57, pretty clear. Zechariah 9:9. Zechariah 9:9. Be page 640 in mine. It says, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. See, your sovereign is coming to you. He is righteous and endowed with deliverance, humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey." All right, so let's take a look now at John 12. John 12:12. Johnny 12:12. Johnny 12:12 says, "On the next Yom, a great multitude who had come to the festival, when they heard that Yahushua was coming to Jerusalem, took the branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, and were crying out, 'Hoshanu, blessed is he was coming in the name of Yahuwah.' And Yahusha, having found a young donkey, sat on it, as it was written, 'Do not fear, daughter of Zion. See, your sovereign is coming, sitting on the colt of a donkey.'" And that's found in Zechariah 9:9. So there's the prophecy and the fulfillment. Wow. Look at Zechariah 11. Zechariah 11:12 says, 12 and 13. "And I said to them, if it is good in your eyes, give me my wages, and if not, refrain. So they weighed out for my wages 30 pieces of silver. And Yahusha said to me, throw it to the potter, the splendid price at which I was valued by them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of Yahuwah for the potter. Then I cut in two my other staff, unity, to break the brotherhood between Yehuda and Yesharal." Wow. Wow, 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 man. You gotta be kidding me. Let's look over at Matthew 26, 27-ish. See, where is that? Matthew 26. 14. Then one of the 12, called Yehuda from Quirath, went to the chief priests and said, "What would you give me to deliver him to you?" And they counted out to him 30 pieces of silver. Wow. Look at Matthew 27:5. And throwing down the pieces of silver in the temple, he left and went and hung himself. So there it is, man. There's his friend who betrayed him, fulfilling Zechariah 11:12 and 13. The wages was to sell him out or betray him was 30 pieces of silver. And then he threw those pieces into the house of Yahuwah for the potter. Prediction and prophecy right there. Okay, so let's look at just a couple more. Mikal, if you will. Mikal. Mikal. Mikal 5:2. Mikal. Am I in Mikal? Mikal. I think some people call that Michael. But it looks like Mikal. Mikal to me. Mikal 5:2 says, oh, we already did that one. That's the one that says he's from Bethlehem. Okay, so let's look at Joel 2. The last one, Joel 2. Joel 2:28 says, and after this it shall be that I pour out my Ruach on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old man dream dreams, your young men see visions. And also on the male servants and on the female servants I shall pour out my Ruach in those Yamim. And I shall give signs in the Shemaim and upon the Arets, blood and fire and columns of smoke. The sun is turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome Yom of Yahuwah. And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be an escape, as Yahuwah has said, and among the survivors whom Yahuwah calls. So there we go. There we're seeing partly part of this prophecy is being fulfilled right in front of our eyes, as with the immersion of the Ruach HaKodesh, and then the other part of it, the day of Yahuwah, is yet to come. So what's interesting about this is you can see this in context. He's telling us, all your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. He's speaking of Pentecost, right? When the Ruach, the outpouring of the Ruach came upon the believers, and for the first time after his descension. And then he goes straight from there, and he says, also my male servants and my female servants I shall pour out my Ruach in those Yamim. And I shall give signs in the Shemaim upon the Arets, blood and fire and columns of smoke. The sun is turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahuwah. Okay, so if you notice what's going on here in context is And the outpouring of the Ruach to the day of Yahuwah can't be too long of a period of time, because it's one right after another here in context in Joel 2. See what I'm saying? So we got to be really close. So here in Acts 1, 4, he says, in meeting with them, he commanded them not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which you have heard from me, because Yahuwah truly immersed in water. Yahukanan truly immersed in water, but you shall be immersed in the Ruach HaKodesh not many days from now. Okay, so then we go over here in chapter 2. It says, and when the Yom of the Festival of Weeks had come, they were all with one mind in one place. So Shabuath, the annual celebration, was a festival. The giving of the Torah at Sinai, the wedding feast. And suddenly there came a sound from the heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them divided tongues as of fire, and settled on each one of them. So the 120 in the upper chamber on Pentecost. And they were filled with the Kadesh Ruach, and began to speak with tongues as the Ruach gave them utterance, or gave them to speak. Okay, so here's the outpouring of the Ruach. And then shortly afterwards, within that same day, we'll say, probably within just an hour, Peter stood up with the other 11 and lifted up his voice and said to them, men of Yehuda and all those dwelling in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen closely to my words. These men aren't drunk, as you imagine, since only the third hour of the day, which would be 9 o'clock in the morning. But this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall be in the last Yamim, says Elohim, that I shall pour out my Ruach on all flesh. So see, Peter's telling them that this is the fulfillment of Joel 2. You see that? But it's not the total fulfillment, is it? It's just the fulfillment of the first part about the pouring out of his Ruach on all flesh. And it shall be in the last Yamim, says Elohim, that I shall pour out my Ruach on all flesh. So see what Peter said? But this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. So he's saying this is the fulfillment of the prophecy in Joel 2, is what you're witnessing. The outpouring of the Ruach HaKodesh on men and women and all flesh. And Peter's saying this is happening. This is the fulfillment of Joel 2. You see that? All right, so we know that was fulfilled partially. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And also on my male servants and on my female servants I shall pour out my Ruach in those Yamim, and they shall prophesy. And I shall show wonders in the heaven above, and signs in the Eretz beneath, blood and fire and vapor smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and splendid Yom of Yahuwah. And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. Okay, see that? So he finishes the prophecy, but that whole prophecy was not fulfilled. Just the first part of it, the outpouring of the Ruach. So the second part of that prophecy can't be far behind. Okay, and so we know that, and it shall be in the last days, since Peter declared the fulfilling of the prophecy in Joel 2 and the beginning of the last days at that fulfillment of that prophecy, then that means 2,000 years is all that's left, because the Yahusha came on the fourth day. It's prophesied that the great light would come on the fourth day. With only 2 days left, man. And we know that Yahusha was executed AD 30 on the Roman calendar. And so you add 2,000 years to that, simple mathematics. 2,000 years expires in 2030, and this is 2024, soon to be 2025. We only got 5 years left for the return of Yahushua. Using simple mathematics, there's all kinds of ways that points to 2030, but that's just one of them. That's maybe possibly the most simplest one. Okay, so there's fulfillment, prophecy and fulfillment in Joel 2, 28 through 32, and partial fulfillment in Acts 2. And the other half yet to come soon, very soon. All right, so that's enough of that. That was kind of fun, though. I like doing that. So, yeah, Romans. Where's Romans at? Okay. Go to Isaiah 1:9. This is amazing, man. I don't know. Isaiah 1:9. Unless Yahuwah of Zaboath had left to us a small remnant, we would have become like Sodom, and we would have been made like Gomorrah. So all is lost without Yahuwah, it appears. You go to Romans 9. So Romans 9:29. And as Yashayahu said before, if Yahuwah Sabaoth had not left us a seed, we would have become like Sodom, and we would have been made like Gomorrah. What's that? Well, guess what that is? That's a direct quote from Isaiah 1:9 that Paul is using to teach in Romans 9:29. So here we find Paul using a direct quote from the old spooky Testament. That's a direct quote, man. Paul's using to teach with, using prophet Isaiah's prophecy to teach with. Look at Isaiah 6 now. Go to 6, 9, and 10. This is very interesting here. So 6, 9 says, Isaiah 6, 9, and 10. And he said, Go, and you shall say to this people, Hearing you hear, but do not understand, and seeing you see, but do not know. Make the heart of this people fat and their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and shall turn and be healed. So there's that one that we've been talking about. It's all over the place. So we find this quoted in Matthew 13, 14 and 15, Mark 4:12, Luke 8:10, Acts 28, 26 through 27, and John 12:40. That's how many times that this quote in Isaiah is quoted in the Nazarene writings or the New Testament, and it's in Mark, Matthew, John, Luke, and Acts. Wow. So what does that mean? That means Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Paul, all of them used Isaiah 6, verse 9 and 10 as teaching instructions to teach. And even to confirm prophecy. So there you go. I mean, how much more proof do we need that the New Testament is nothing more than an extension of the Old Testament? The Nazarene writings are an extension of the Tanakh. Can that be true? Of course it's true. Why is that true? Because that's all they had. That's what they were studying. That's what they were reading. That's what they were quoting. That's what they were alluding to. That's what they were using to teach. That was what they were using to understand what Yahuwah wanted. All that. That's what they had. That's why you find it so abundantly recorded in the Nazarene writings. And there are those out there who dare to say that the Tanakh is annulled, that unfulfilled prophecy doesn't matter. Throw it away, pitch it to the dustbin of iniquity. It was only for the Jews. This little verse here in Isaiah 6, 9, 10, shall I dare say, would apply to you, those who teach that. Look at Isaiah 7:14. Therefore, Yahuwah himself gives you a sign. Look, the maiden conceives and gives birth to a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Matthew, in his letter, his memoir, Matthew 1:23, says, See, a maiden shall conceive, and she shall give birth to a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which translated means all is with us. Huh? That's a direct quote. Direct quote, prophecy fulfillment. However you want to say it. Isaiah 8:14. And he shall be for a set apart place, but he shall be for a set apart place, but a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling to both the houses of Israel, as a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Romans 9:23. See what Paul has to say. 9:23. Or 33, I mean. Romans 9:33. As it has been written, see, I lay in Zion a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling, and everyone who is believing on him shall not be put to shame. Oh, sounds like Paul is using Isaiah 8:14 to teach from. How about Peter? And Peter have the King Jimmy to help him teach out of? Did he? Let's see what Peter uses for references to teach out of. 1 Peter 2:8 says, and a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling, who stumble because they are disobedient to the word to which they also were appointed. Oh, it sounds like to me Peter's alluding to Isaiah 8:14 to teach with. Isaiah 8:17 and 18 says, and I shall wait on Yahuwah, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I shall look for him. Look, I am the children whom Yahuwah has given me, for signs and wonders in Israel from Yahuwah Zaboeth, who dwells on Mount Zion. And when they say to you, wait a minute, do I want to keep going on that? Nope. Okay, so Hebrews 2:13 says, whoever wrote Hebrews, I guess that's up for debate. Hebrew 2:13. And again, I shall put my trust in him. And again, see, I and the children whom Yahuwah gave me. Sounds like the writer of Hebrews is borrowing from Isaiah 8:17 and 18 as they teach. They are alluding to Isaiah 8. Look at Isaiah 9. Look at all the teaching out of Isaiah that these Netzarim writings use. All these people in the Netzarim writings for the New Testament, almost every single one of them either use direct quotes or allude to Isaiah in order to teach others. And so if the Old Testament was irrelevant and abolished and thrown out and no longer useful, then wouldn't we have to take all these quotes, all of the quotes, and throw them all out along with the Tanakh? Yeah, that's what we would have to do if what you're suggesting is something smart, something wise that we should do. Throw out the Tanakh, the Old Testament. It's irrelevant. Oh, you can look at it, but it's not for us. We're in the age of grace. I don't think so. All the writers in the New Testament that you're referencing, even Paul, is quoting, direct quoting or alluding to Isaiah many, 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 many times. Look at Isaiah 9, 1 and 2. But there is no gloom upon her who is distressed, as when at first he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan and Galilee of the nations. Look at Matthew 4. 4:15 and 16 says, and leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capharnaum, which is by the sea in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, to conclude what was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet, saying, land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. What? What? Matthew is directly quoting out of Isaiah in order to teach. Don't forget, these chapters and these verses were not numbered when these people wrote these letters, these memoirs. They were just writing down their memories, what took place in their life as it pertained to Yahusha, the Messiah. And look at the direct quotes from Isaiah that they're using, because it happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen, the way it was prophesied to happen, and the way it was written to happen. And therefore, their memories, the events, the memories of their life, their teachings, all relate back to the Tanakh, the Old Testament. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it? If we threw out all the direct quotes and all the quotes that at least allude to Isaiah and to other places in the scriptures, the Tanakh, there would be a whole lot left of what you call in the New Testament. I don't even know if there'd be half of it would be left, to tell you the truth. Let's look at Isaiah 10. Now, this is fun. You know why this is fun? Because this is proving all the false teachers wrong when they teach that the Tanakh is expired, irrelevant, abolished. Isaiah 10, 22 and 23 says, for though your people, O Yisrael, be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return, a decisive end, overflowing with righteousness. For the Master Yahuwah of hosts is making a complete end, as decided in the midst of all the arets. Look at Romans 9. See what Paul has to say. So Romans 9, 27 and 28. And Yeshayahu cries out on behalf of Yisrael, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, the remnant shall be delivered. For he is bringing a matter to an end, and is cutting it short in righteousness, because Yahuwah shall cut short a matter on the arets. What? That's alluding to Isaiah 10, 22, 23. So Paul's teaching from Isaiah here. Isaiah 11, 10 says, and in that yom there shall be a root of Jesse, Yeshe, standing as a banner to the people. To him the Gentiles shall seek, and his rest shall be esteemed. Romans 15, 12. And again, Yeshayahu, so you can't deny it's referencing to Yeshayahu because it says it is. Not, and again, Yeshayahu or Isaiah says, there shall be a root of Jesse or Yeshe, and he who shall rise to reign over the nations, on him the nations shall set their expectation. Wow. So Paul's teaching is alluding to Isaiah again. Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22:13 says, then see, joy and gladness, slaying oxen and killing sheep, eating meat and drinking wine. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. Look at 1 Corinthians 15. First Corinthians 15:32 says, if as men do, I have fought with beasts at Ephesus, of what good is it to me? If the dead are not raised, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. That's definitely a direct quote from Isaiah. Paul's quoting Isaiah right there. Isaiah 25. Eight. He shall swallow up death forever, and the Master Yahuwah shall wipe away tears from all faces, and take away the reproach of his people from all the Eretz, for Yahuwah has spoken. First Corinthians 15:54. And when this corruptible put on incorruptible, and this mortal has put on immortality, then shall come to be the word that has been written. Death is swallowed up in overcoming. Whoa. He shall swallow up death forever, and the Master Yahuwah shall wipe away tears from all faces. That's definitely alluding to Isaiah 25:8. Okay, 27:9, Isaiah. It says, therefore, by this the crookedness of Jacob is covered, and this is all the fruit of the taking away his sin, when he makes all the stones of the altar like chalk stones that are beaten to dust, Ashram and sun pillars rise no more. Romans 11. Romans 11:27. And this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. And this is all the fruit of taking away his sin. So there's an Paul is alluding to Isaiah here. Isaiah 25:8, or 27:9. Look at Isaiah 28:11 and 12. For with a jabbering lip and a foreign tongue he speaks to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest give rest to the weary, and this is the refreshing. But they would not hear. Okay, so Isaiah 28 and 11 and 12, 1 Corinthians 14. 1 Corinthians 14:21. And the Torah has been written, with men of other tongues and other lips I shall speak to this people. And even so, they shall not hear me, says Yahuwah. There you go. Isaiah 28, 11 and 12 is definitely alluding to it, for sure. 28:16, Isaiah. It says, therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, say, I am laying in Zion a stone for a foundation, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a settled foundation. He who trusts shall not hasten away. So 28:16, referencing to Romans 9. So Romans 9:33. As it has been written, and we know where it's been written. This is Paul. See, I lay in Zion a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling, and everyone who is believing on him shall not be put to shame. And look at Romans 10:11. Because the scripture says, whoever puts his trust in him shall not be put to shame. That's a direct quote from Isaiah 28:16. Or alluding to, not direct. Okay, 29:10. Isaiah 29:10 says, for Yahuwah has poured out on you the spirit of deep sleep and has closed your eyes, the prophets, and he has covered your heads, the seers. Oh, so this is telling us that the delusion is real, isn't it? Yeah, look at Romans 11:8. And it has been written, Yahuwah has given them a ruach of deep sleep, eyes not to see and ears not to hear to this Yom. Wow, man. For you has poured out on you the spirit of deep sleep and has closed your eyes, the prophets, and he has covered your heads, the seers. Wow. Yeah, that's alluding to Romans 11:8 to Isaiah 29:10 for sure. 29:13 here, a couple verses down. And Yahuwah says, because this people is drawn near to me with its mouth, and with its lips they have esteemed me, and it has kept its heart far from me. And their fear of me has become a command of men that is taught. Okay, Matthew 15. Matthew 15:8 and 9 says, this people draw near to me with their mouth and respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Wow. That's definitely alluding to Isaiah 29:13, Matthew teaching there. So you can see, it goes on and on. Just about every single chapter has a verse attached to it. It really does. I'm gonna jump down here a little bit. Let me see, what time is it? Yeah. I'm gonna skip down here to Isaiah 45. We can go through every single chapter and find quotes, or at least alluded to a quote in Isaiah, every chapter. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to jump over to 45, Isaiah 45 now. And 45:23 says, I have sworn by myself, a word has gone out of my mouth in righteousness, and shall not return, so that to me every knee shall bow and every tongue swear. So we look at 11, Romans 14:11. Romans 14:11 says, for it has been written, as I live, says Yahuwah, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to Yahuwah. It's also in Philippians. Uh, 2:10. Philippians 2:10 says, and at the name of Yahusha, every knee should bow, of those in heaven and those on the arets, and under those under the arets. And every tongue should confess that Yahusha Mashiach is master, to the esteem of Yahuwah the Father. So there we go. There's Paul alluding to Isaiah 45:23. So Isaiah 49:6. And he says, shall it be a small matter for you to be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to bring back the preserved ones of Yisrael? And I shall give you as a light to the Gentiles, to be my deliverer to the ends of the Arats. This is speaking of Yahusha. So 49:6, a light to the Gentiles. Acts 13. Go to Acts 13. Acts 13:47 says, for so the Master has commanded us, I have set you to be a light to the nations, that you should be for deliverance to the ends of the Arats. There you go. It's definitely a direct quote, Isaiah 49:6. Isaiah 49:8 is also quoted. It says, thus said Yahuwah, in a favorable time I shall answer you, and in the yom of deliverance I shall help you. And I guard you and give you for a covenant of the people, to restore the Arets, to cause them to inherit their ruined inheritances. 2 Corinthians. Six two. For he says, in acceptable time I have heard you, and in that yom of deliverance I have helped you. See, now is the well-accepted time. See, now is a yom of deliverance. Isaiah 52:5. Isaiah 52:5 says, and now what here have I here, declares Yahuwah, that my people are taken away for naught. Those who rule over them make them wail, declares Yahuwah. And my name is despised all day continually. Romans 2:24. Romans 2:24 says, for the name of Yahuwah is blasphemed among the nations because of you, as it has been written. 52:7 says, how pleasant upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings the Besorah, who proclaims peace, who brings Besorah, who proclaims deliverance, who says to Zion, your Elohim reigns. Romans 10:15 says, and how shall they proclaim if they are not sent? It has been written, how pleasant are the feet of those who bring the Besorah of peace, who bring the Besorah of the good. See that? They're alluding to it. Paul's alluding to it. Isaiah 52:15. So Isaiah 53:1 says, who has believed our report, and to whom was the arm of Yahuwah revealed? John 12:38. John 12:38 says, that the word of Yashayahu the prophet might be concluded, which he spoke. Yahuwah, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of Yahuwah been revealed? That's a direct quote. Used by John. 53:4 says, truly he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains, yet we reckon him stricken, smitten by Elohim, and afflicted. Matthew 8. Matthew 8:17. That it might be concluded what was spoken by Yashayahu the prophet, saying, he himself took our weaknesses and bore our sicknesses. Oh man, there's a quote. There's a fulfillment. Unbelievable. Right there in Matthew. Let's go to 54:1. Sing, O barren one, you who did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry out loud, you who have not been in labor. For the children of the deserted one are more than the children of the married Asha, said Yahuwah. Look at Galatians. Galatians 4:27. For it has been written, rejoice, barren, you who do not bear, break forth and shout, you who do not have birth pains, for the deserted one has many more children than she who has a husband. Wow. That's a direct quote, man. Oh. "55:3 says, incline your ear and come to me, hear, so that your being lives. And let me make an everlasting covenant with you, the trustworthy kindness of Daud." Acts 13:34. Acts 13:34 says, and that he raised him out of the dead, no more to return to corruption. He has thus said, I shall give you the trustworthy kindness of Daud. Wow, that's alluding to Isaiah for sure. And the writer of Acts, which more than likely is probably Luke. Isaiah 59, 7 and 8. Their feet run to evil, and they hurry to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of wickedness, wasting and ruin are in their highways. The way of peace they have not known, and there is no right ruling in their ways. They have made crooked paths for themselves. Whoever treads in them shall not know peace. Romans 3. So what Paul's got to teach here. Romans 3. Romans 3, 15 and 17. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin and wretchedness are in their way, and the way of peace they have not known. That's definitely alluding to it. Isaiah 59. Okay, let's see. Isaiah 61, 1 and 2 says, the Ruach of the Master Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me, Elif in the Tall, to bring Basora to the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah in the yom of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all who mourn. All right, so Luke 4. Luke 4, 17 through 19 says, and the scroll of the prophet Yashayahu was handed to him. And having unrolled the scroll, he found the place where it was written, the Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he has anointed me, Elif in the Tall, to bring the Basora to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to send away crushed ones with a release. To proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah. There it is, man. That's mind-blowing, isn't it? Direct quote from Isaiah 61, 1 and 2, found in Luke, but quoted by Yahusha himself. So that's a very special one. Isaiah 62, 11. See, Yahuwah is proclaimed to the end of the Eretz. Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your deliverance has come. See, his reward is with him, and his work before him. So that's talking about Yahusha. Matthew 21:5 says, say to the daughter of Zion, see, your sovereign is coming to you, meek and sitting on a donkey, even a colt, the foal of a donkey. Isaiah 64:4, since the beginning of the ages, they have not heard, nor perceived by the ear, nor has the eye seen any Elohim besides you, who acts for those who wait for him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. 1 Corinthians 2:9. But as it has been written, eye has not seen and ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what Yahuwah has prepared for those who love him. Man, that's almost a direct quote. Isaiah 65:1 and 2. I have let myself be inquired of, not by those who asked, I was found, not by those who sought me. I said, here I am, to a nation not calling on my name. To a nation not calling on my name. Wow. Romans 10. '20 and 21. And Yashayahu boldly says, I was found by those not seeking me. I was made manifest to those not asking for me. And to Yisrael, he says, all day long I have stretched out my hands to a disobedient and dissenting people. Wow, man. Isaiah 66. This is the last one, folks. Isaiah 66:1 and 2 says, thus said Yahuwah, the Shemayim are my throne, and the Eretz is my footstool. Where is this house that you built for me? And where is this place of my rest? And all these my hands have made, and all these that exist, declares Yahuwah. Yet to such a one I look, on him who is poor and bruised of spirit, and who trembles at my word. Go to Acts 7. Acts 7, 48 through 50. However, the Most High does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, as the prophet says. What prophet? Oh, Isaiah. Yeah, we just read that. The heaven is my throne, and the Eretz is my footstool. What house shall you build for me, says Yahuwah? Or what is the place of my rest? Has my hand not made all these? There we go. So there, I'm going to stop right there. But I mean, that's just a small example, man, of what's going on in the scriptures. Okay. So now we can clearly see that the Tanakh, or what they call the Old Testament, is not irrelevant. It's not abolished. Okay. It's used not only by the first century Netzarim, the first Netzarim, but by Yahusha himself, quoted it many times. And many times throughout the Netzarim writings and memoirs, or what they call the New Testament, we find direct quotes, alluding quotes to Tanakh, in them either showing teaching fulfillment of the prophecies in the Tanakh, or teaching out of the Tanakh, or repeating prophecy that has not even come true yet. It hasn't been fulfilled yet. And so all the writers of the New Testament obviously used the Old Testament to teach out of, to learn out of, to study out of, to quote out of, to allude to, in all their works and all their writings. So this should be more than adequate proof to each and every single one of us that watch this, that the Tanakh is very much relevant and very much alive and well, and will not ever end or be irrelevant until all is fulfilled. And that means every single prophecy written in that thing has to come true, even the smallest of them. Yahusha will fulfill them all. He's fulfilled a large portion of them already, but he's going to fulfill them all at his second coming for sure. The day of Yahuwah will fulfill a lot of them, and then when he creates the new heaven and the new earth, that will fulfill probably the last of the prophecies in there. And then we're going to go into the eternal reign, and with mortal bodies. The promise of immortality and eternity with Yahuwah may be the last prophecy of all. But they're all written right there in what they call the Old Testament. All right, so I hope you all see that there's nothing old about that. It's alive and well, and it's thriving. And it's teaching us the truth, and teaching us how to love, teaching us the truth, teaching us everything we need to know to get to gain the knowledge of Yahuwah, and get to know him, and to love him, and to marry him, and to be with him forever. It's all right there. It's not irrelevant, folks. That's a lie straight from Satan himself. So all praise to Yahuwah. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me this evening, studying scripture with me. And thanks for being in the chat room and chatting up a storm, being nice to each other, showing love to each other, and just being here together means a whole lot, more than you'll ever know to me. And I'm sure it means a whole lot to a lot of other people that are watching or in the chat room as well. So thank you again for being here. Oh, don't forget, tomorrow we're still studying Isaiah. We're in Yashayahu. We're really going to get into some really good stuff. Starting now in 45, Isaiah 45 to the end. It's going to be mind-blowing. Don't miss it. If you've never been there, you're more than welcome to come and study with us. We have a live broadcast, open format, and y'all are welcome to be there and talk and share your thoughts, your comments, your questions, either in the broadcast or in the chat room, or just simply hang out with us. You can be incognito and just listen and watch as well. We help you all to stay obedient to the fourth commandment, and offer you the chance to congregate and assemble on Shabbat, as was the practice or the habit, if you will, of Yahusha and also Paul. So come join us. Appreciate you being there. We're right here on this same channel. A spark in you is Yah, 3 words. If you're here now, you shouldn't have any problem coming on. And then if you want to get into the live broadcast, then you would just click on the StreamYard link in the chat room, follow the directions to the backstage, and I'll see you back there and let you in. See what you got to say. So please join us 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Sparking You is Yah. That's 11 o'clock a.m. for you Texans. So come join us at the Netzarim Assembly Scripture Study Group, folks. Be there or be square. And remember to stay in love with Yahusha. So long, Netzarim, beloved of Yahuwah. So long, everyone. See you tomorrow or see you next week. Your choice. Peace, joy, and love to everyone.